Check it out.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special Check It Out here on the YouTube channel. I am your host, as always, Scott E. And today we're going to be diving into the World of Stardom Championship match between Saya Kamitani and Natsupoi from Stardom Sapporo Rendezvous 2025, because I think this match was not only fantastic, but an important one in Stardom's present and future. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me. If you are listening to this, I want to first off start this show by thanking everyone for the continued support. We hit 600 subscribers, I saw today. I can't explain to you how much that means. The dream when I started the channel was 100. Because at the end of the day, all I'm doing is talking joshi, sharing my love for joshi wrestling, and that's really all I'm ever here to do. Um, I deal with whatever, and past 24 hours have been what they are. I've been dealing with it, been moving through it, but the support you all show me means more to me than anything else. So thank you for that, and let's get on with the show. This match, Natsupoi, Saya Kamitani, the build up for this match was as big as any match in Stardom since Tam versus Saya at All Star Grand Queendom. And through the past few months, I and others have been talking about who will be the one that steps up, who will be the one that gets to the level of Saya Kamitani, right? Saya Kamitani is here. She is on her own mountain in terms of popularity, excitement, and just overall talking points when it comes to Stardom. That is who people show up for. That's who people love, and understandably so. Saya Kamitani has become undeniable. This is the World of Stardom champion, the heavy favorite, I'm sure, to win the Tokyo Sports Women's MVP right now. And honestly, she should be considered a favorite to win the Tokyo Sports MVP as a whole. That's the type of year she's having. And Stardom's next task after All Star Grand Queendom, when Tam Nakano retired and Mayu Utani left and Mina Shirakawa left, and Micah went down with injury, was to make someone get to that level. But you can't make it. It has to be natural. That wrestler has to take it and run with it on their own. And I've listed out in the past on a separate video, who's going to be the next top babyface of Stardom. Because at the end of the day, Saya Kamitani, while she is loved and adored, she is the top heel. We need a new babyface. You need a new ace. And no one has tried to capture that more than Natsupoi. Natsupoi, after a few months, right? A few months post Tam retiring, a few months post the Sayaka Carrara challenge after winning the Cinderella tournament, Natsupoi stepped up. And not only has she stepped up in the meantime, she's told the world that I'm going to be the next ace of Stardom. And I think those words are very important. That is someone saying, I'm taking this position that is empty. This is going to be mine. And she's had the promos right in the lead up with Saya Kamitani asking, who are you truly? You may be a heel, but everywhere else you are something else. And I think that plays to the end of All Star Grand Queendom in many ways, right? Saya Kamitani had been the dastardly heel that wanted to end Tam Nakano's career. But at the end of the day, they shared that special moment, one that I would never get rid of, as Tam Nakano walked off into the distance, right? As Tam Nakano retired from professional wrestling and disappeared from professional wrestling in one of the all-time great moments I've ever seen. So Natsupoi has went into that and in a way maybe angered some people along the way, but also used truth in her argument to build this match up. And at the end of the day, Saya Kamitani can embrace that heelness, that version of herself that we see on camera by having a match like the one she did today. Because more often than not, when Saya Kamitani does whatever she does, right? She's on all these TV shows. She's this big, massive star. She can be Saya Kamitani. Because at the end of the day, we all know who Saya Kamitani truly is. We've seen it for years, right? She's a little bit goofy, cheerful and all those different things, but when it gets to the wrestling, she turns it on. Right, she wants to be the heel that transcends just women's wrestling. She wants to be the heel of wrestling. In many ways, she has said she's created what the heel truly should be. And that's why the comments from a Natsupoi, the comments from a Sari are very interesting to tell this story. But when you get into the ring, that's when the match speaks for itself. That speaks for the story. And I thought Saya Kamitani and Natsupoi put on a very important match today because when it was all over, when it was all said and done, I felt Stardom found their new ace. And I think it's very clear who that is. So let's get into it. Let's get into the check it out. Let's talk about the match, the beauty of the match, the moments of the match that really jumped out to me, and just ultimately celebrate a match that I think perfectly starts the next arc in Stardom, and especially with the world title. Because, like I've been saying, so much of the past few months has been trying to figure out who and what makes sense here. And even before the five-star Grand Prix arrives, right? We are literally this weekend is the five-star Grand Prix. Before that even arrives, I think we found our answer, and that creates a lot of questions moving forward, but exciting questions for both Stardom, for Saya Kamitani, and now Natsupoi. So this championship match took place in Sapporo Rendezvous 2025. The stakes were high. The excitement was high. This was a crowd that was into the show from start to finish. I'll talk more about the show on the five star as I do every week. Really good show. Really enjoyed it. Really breezy show as well, which I quite enjoyed. But this was the championship match I was looking for, right? So much of the time post Sayaka Kara was why is no one challenging Saya Kamitani? And once Natsupoi finally did, she ramped it up, right? She took care of business and she made that story mean something. She built this match up. Saya built this match up. It felt personal and it was always the natural direction. Saya Kamitani retired Tam Nakano, the Meltier partner of Natsupoi. And Natsupoi, for a very long time, has always been someone that I think many of us saw as the obvious heir apparent to someone like Tam Nakano. Since the moment Tam's retired and that Natsu and Sayori anniversary shows happened, Natsupoi has flipped a switch. She has gone from a Wonder Star champion last year that we were very much questioning at times, right? Like that title reign did not live up to who she is as a wrestler and the moment I think many of us expected that reign to be for her. Instead, Instead, she has dialed it back to her 2022 version when she was in the conversation for one of the best in the world. You look at that Cinderella journey match against Saya Kamitani that year for the Wonder Star Championship. And I think that was the first time many of us said, okay, she not only should be Wonder Star champion, but there's more potential for that after the fact. I don't think there is a necessary field of stopping someone from reaching the very top, right? And Natsupoi and her abilities should be in the conversation for a future world champion. Last year hurt that, admittedly. The Wonder run didn't go as planned, right? It wasn't as successful as anyone hoped. Obviously, had the great Hazuki defense, but then it got stuck in kind of this Tekla feud that really just was one defense and watered it down. Then she lost the belt to Kid. And that loss to Kid was necessary because it was time for Starlight Kid. But you've seen her lock in really since her anniversary show to a level that, okay, you are back up here. You're back at the top. You are someone who is so capable of greatness, and you are now going to go in there with Saya Kamitani, someone who has been delivering greatness all year long, and you're going to put on a show. Like I said, I found this match to be a very important one for the present and future of Stardom. This is a match to me that perfectly showed why Natsupoi should be the one to dethrone Saya Kamitani. And I think it's important in a great story to come up short. A great story You can come up short once before coming back around and ultimately winning the big one. This loss right before the five-star Grand Prix creates doubt for Natsupoi and Natsupoi fans. Doubt that now she will enter the five-star Grand Prix as someone who I think should heavily be considered to win the tournament, even though she just had her title defense. Because at the end of the day, I think Natsupoi is next. And I think the way we saw the five-star Grand Prix booked last year, where Micah lost the World of Stardom Championship literally at this show before heading into the tournament a week later, going undefeated and winning the tournament, I think anything's possible. And we'll talk about that more when the five-star Grand Prix preview comes out, because I think there's so many interesting aspects of who should win, why they should win, and so on. And I think Natsupoi, after today's performance, proved she should comfortably be in that conversation. But this match was terrific. This match was terrific. I had no doubt about that. These two have incredible chemistry. You saw it in the lead up. All of their preview tags were must see stuff. Truly, truly. Every time they connected, whether it be in Korakuen or somewhere else in Japan, they always lived up to it. And when this feud first started, you saw Natsupoi flip that switch. And so much of this match was, in many ways, an ode to Tam Nakano, I felt, but in the Natsupoi Saya Kamitani version. Because you see this point, if you're watching, if you're looking at the screen, they go up the ramp. That is a Tam world title moment if I've ever seen one. That is a classic for her. In her biggest of matches, you go down the ramp and you wrestle. But they didn't do there was no running violet shoot necessarily, but it's one of those little things. They wrestled all around ringside because this felt like more of a fight than just a match. And I think that's what made this most important. That's what jumped out to me. This was the start of something way more personal and hopefully way more long-term booking than just right now. This was Natsupoi showing that she is capable of not only challenging for the World of Stardom Championship in her very first title challenge of this red belt, but that she's this close. She's this close to being the one to take it from Saya Kamitani. They wrestled up into the crowd, which was an incredible moment, and they were throwing forearms, fighting, and then ultimately Natsupoi took the tumble down the stairs. Always a massive moment, I think, in matches where they do that, just because it's like, ow, like it's one of those natural things where it's like, ouch, okay. Um, and I think watching this part of the match, I'm just thinking to myself, like, this isn't supposed to be your unbelievably spectacular match of the year necessarily, but it's an important, fantastic step in the story of both wrestlers. This was a challenge for Saya Kamitani. These two could have stayed in the ring from bell to bell for the most part, outside of, throwing each other into the chairs a few times, and put on probably an even better match. But this, to me, felt like the step that they needed to take. You want to make this personal. You want to make these two go to war against one another, fight and fight and fight, and destroy each other until no one of the two have nothing left. When they started to square off in the middle of the ring, that's when you got that top tier level of intensity between these two. There were moments outside the ring where they had to drag each other back in by their hair to break the count, because neither of these two wanted this to end in a count out. Neither of these two. Saya Kamitani could have just accepted a count out, but no, no, no. This was personal. This was the next step in Saya Kamitani's story. This was the first step in Natsupoi's World of Stardom title journey. That's how I felt, and that's how I think Stardom's going about it. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe I'm eating at the end of all this, but to me, you have two Queendom shows coming up. Saya Kamitani should hold it through Stardom Dream Queendom. I think that's undeniable. She should have this title for well over a year. But All-Star Grand Queendom next year, 1 year to the date Tam Nakano was forced to retire at the hands of Saya Kamitani, it feels like Saya versus Poi should be the destination. It should be the destination for that very show to tell that story in full form for Saya Kamitani's World of Stardom title reign. Natsupoi was incredible. She was incredible. Look at that face. That is a face of determination. That is a face of, I know I can do this. These two traded forearms. They traded nasty headbutts in the ring that just had the crowd going, oh my God, myself included. Watching this match, again, you get a great appreciation of how great these two wrestlers are. And you get an appreciation of why Natsupoi is such a fantastic underdog, because she's going to leave it all out there until you have her dead to rights. This was a match and a moment 1 year in the making for Saya Kamitani, who turned heel at this show a year ago. Having her successfully defend in what might be the next big pivot point, the next big story of her reign, of her run as a heel, at the same show she turned heel, perfect mindset, perfect execution. I myself, and probably others, but mostly myself, have to learn to be patient sometimes. I wanted someone to step up, Natsupoi to step up, Saori to step up. But ultimately doing it at this show, in this match made all the sense in the world if I think they're going where they're going. Natsupoi, like I said, was tremendous. Saya Kamitani was tremendous. It was a fight to the finish. It was a fight to the end. It was the first time I think Saya Kamitani maybe faced some doubt in this title reign. And I think that's important because that's the building block here. Natsupoi may not challenge for another 8 months, but she needs to challenge again in this reign because I think she is the one. She had said throughout this story, I am going to be the next Stardom ace. When she finally had her first interview post Tam's retirement, talking about how I didn't want the singles match. I wanted to kind of let that be, but now I'm ready to carry Stardom forward. These interviews are done for a reason. They don't just say things to say things. And it has led to this. It has led to this in a feud where she said, I am going to be the next ace of Stardom. She embodies the ultimate babyface, the ultimate ace-like figure that Stardom needs on contrast from Saya Kamitani. Natsupoi was within seconds. There were some incredible near falls in this match that I think really need to be talked about. The Ferial gift here was a great, great near fall. And ultimately, it was quickly answered soon after when they got to their feet by a surprise Star Crusher, one that kind of crushed the hopes of Natsupoi very quickly. But as she did, she almost got the flash pin that has won her so many different matches. That was the near fall of the night. It was incredible. The crowd thought, oh my God, Natsupoi is champion. And it was from there where you saw that was the final gasp. That was it. That's all that Natsupoi had left in her. There was nothing left after that because Saya Kamitani said enough is enough. She put a finish to it. She hit her big boot Kamagoye type move and then hit the spinning Star Crusher for the win, ending Natsupoi's hopes and dreams of becoming the ace right here, right now, becoming the World of Stardom champion for the first time in her career. It didn't happen like she expected, but it was the start of something special. This is a photo you have to see. At the end of the day, when they're both sitting there, down, match over, it's Natsupoi whose eyes are open and saying, I was this close. I was this close. But Saya Kamitani reigns strong, reigns at the top, and continues her reign as the World of Stardom champion, as she should. Like I said, a fantastic match and the start of something so much more in my eyes. Natsupoi can be and should be the next ace. This was the first chance to give her the keys, and she flourished in the championship match. Saya Kamitani and her have the incredible chemistry to keep this going. 1 year after Saya Kamitani turned heel, 1 year after Natsupoi became Wonder Stardom champion, those two directions went completely the other direction. Saya rose to power, right? And Natsupoi's reign was not what we all expected. Now they are colliding. They have the history behind them as just them two, let alone you add the Tam Nakano aspect. They have the history, they have the story points, and now I think we are telling that. The reason we're doing this, check it out, is because of that. I think this is super important for Stardom moving forward. It's a story that I'm super invested in. So, like I said, Saya Kamitani should not have been losing this match, and she not should not be losing this title anytime soon. I think you can quite easily throughout this reign tell many stories that all ultimately will lead back to Natsupoi. I think a Sariano defense still feels likely throughout. Whenever Micah comes back, that is a story point you have to hit for Saya Kamitani. Sari is an obvious one that has major Natsupoi ties and one that I would play into pretty close to All-Star Grand Queendom if you can. This reign's still so fresh, this reign is still so new, and I think we're just starting the new story arc of Natsupoi and really of Saya Kamitani. Joshi, Stardom, whatever you want to call it, right now, it just revolves around Saya Kamitani. But Natsupoi is the person to rise to that level and get there. And I think that's what's the most exciting part about what this match accomplished to me. Hate stood tall 1 year after becoming its own thing, right? 1 year after they ditched the Oedo time name and became Hate. Saya Kamitani stands tall. It was her that led this charge. Obviously, Natsuko Tora had become world champion, but she's now leading. Also, loved to see Rena ringside. That was great to see, just, based on the concussion. But also, these t-shirts are fantastic. But ultimately, this was a great moment, a great step for this feud, for this story, for Saya's reign. And I'm so excited to see what's next. And that, of course, starts with the 5-Star Grand Prix. The 5-Star Grand Prix is almost here. The next video on this channel will be the 5-Star Grand Prix preview, so keep an eye out for that. But thank you everyone for listening to this video. Like I said, I posted this on the YouTube channel in a post. We're doing a lot of content over the next month, 2 months. Actually, I think we have 13 5-Star Grand Prix daily reviews. We're going to have the preview for that. We're going to have the Dream Star daily reviews, 12 of those, I believe. That preview as well. And so much more. The podcast drops every Friday, as you know. So thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you, everyone, for taking part. Thank you, everyone, for the continued support. 600 subscribers truly is incredible to me, and I can't thank you enough. Truly. It means the world. It does. So thank you for that. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you are also on the idea of it's going to be Natsupoi's time sooner rather than later. She is that next ace, but Saya Kamitani should continue to reign. I thank you all for listening. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about this future story. Do you think Natsupoi should eventually be the woman to uncrown Saya Kamitani as World of Stardom champion, or do you think someone else is ready to do that? Because there are other options. Starlight Kid, great option. Hanan's obviously a big option. They've teased Ami Sourei already. Micah is always looming once she comes back from injury, right? These things are all important. I didn't even talk about that. The little Micah moment that her and Saya had at this show. Micah was on commentary. Really enjoyed that. But all these things are possible. So let me know. Leave a comment below. Also, leave a like. That helps us a lot. Leave a like. Let me know what you thought of the match itself. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Until next time, everyone, so long. See ya. And make sure you check it out. Bye-bye.